These guys are important. You know, they're not. What am I doing? I'm bagging groceries? Goo goo gaga? We're talking about leave. You want to hear something insane? Clinton Jaws, guys. Website out there called clintonjaws.com. Go to it. There's also another website out there. Don't worry, I'm not even going to talk about that right now. Why do people become cops? Why do people become police officers? Pretty obvious, right? To help people, right? Isn't that what they all say? To help people. And it's just not true. If a police officer ever tells you that he became a cop to help people, you need to stop sucking them off, okay? Because it's just not true. It's not, okay, maybe 1 in a million want to help people. And it's always great when you do become a cop and you actually help somebody, but you're not becoming a cop to help somebody. My entire career, I never met one person, one police officer say to me, oh yeah, I became a cop to help people. No, it's not why they become police officers. Maybe I'll show a picture. None of these guys became police officers to help people, okay? Especially this guy right here. Right here. He didn't become a cop to help people. Oh, maybe he did, but I doubt it. I don't know if I should have started it this way. I didn't know I was going to start it this way. And I don't think I should show that picture. Maybe you see a picture, maybe you don't. I'm going to tell you guys a story. I used to work at Safeway, okay, in high school, like grade 10, 11, and 12. And it sucked. It sucked working at Canada Safeway. Number one, it was inside. Number two, I was a cashier. And they always gave me the same shift. It was 5 hours. They would give me 5-hour shifts. And that was the worst. You were only allowed a 15-minute break in those 5 hours. So literally, you would try to make it to hour 3, just standing there, serving people, customers, begging their groceries, scanning their groceries, having to talk to them for 3 straight hours, standing in the same spot for 3 straight hours. Great paying job. I was making like $15 an hour. Back then in high school, that's pretty good. I mean, when minimum wage was like $5.50. You would literally have a break for 15 minutes. You would have to punch. You'd have to go to a machine and punch a card out. And you had to punch right on the 15-minute mark. You weren't allowed any more than 15 minutes. So when your break started, you punch your card. You would run around the grocery store, grab like a cheese bun, and you had to go through the till. You had to go through a cashier. By the time you got to the lunchroom, you only had 4 minutes left of your break. And you had to call everybody by their last name, like Mr. Meads, Mr. Brent March. I think that's what his name was. Mr. March. It just grossed me out. Like they were teachers. I had to call them by their last name. I couldn't call them by their first name, the bigwigs. You had to be sweet. You had to be nice. You had to have attributes, if that's a word, like a woman. I was a guy cashier, so I'm a guy, right? Got some testosterone inside my body. But I had to be sweet like a woman. When they came through with a baby, they wanted me to go goo goo gaga. And I couldn't find myself to do it. I was a good cashier, and I was always have a competition with myself to be fast. I was known as the fastest cashier, guaranteed, that anybody has ever seen. People used to go to my parents. They would tell my parents, he's good. You know, even if he has the biggest line, I go to his register because I'm out like that. And so I was proud about something. I was proud about that. I was proud about being quick. And I was never rude to anybody, ever. I got them through. I got their groceries through as quick as possible. I remember getting in trouble. I remember getting in trouble one day at Safeway. One of the main dudes comes up to me after I served a customer, and the customer went up to him and said, "Hey, I just want you to know, that guy over there, rudest employee I have ever met in my entire life." And he told me, "I'm going to have to tell Brent March this, Clint." And I'm like, wait, how was I rude? Well, I don't know. He just said you're rude. To this day, I swear to God, this guy that complained about me got me mixed up with somebody else because I have no memory of ever being rude to any customer. And I had to go have a meeting with Brent March, and I got in trouble. And it was a good union job. It was a good union paying job. It was a career. If you got a job at Safeway, that's like a career. Some of the wealthiest people in Port Alberni, doesn't take much, I know, but some of them they worked at Safeway. But I goddamn hated it. Hated it. I remember leaving Nanaimo and I went and worked for Thrifty Foods and clean up in aisle 4. Like, shut up. And I had to call them by their last name. And, I look back and I probably did make a mistake, but I quit Safeway because I just hated it so much. And the customer really was always right. I worked at Shaw Cable. I ended up getting recruited while I was working at Shaw Cable. I worked at malls and I was selling the Shaw at home, the internet. I was able to give people 2 free months. I made a ton of money. But I had to talk to customers all day long. And I don't know. I guess it's great if you like people. If you like customers. I found it painful. So this is what happens to me. This is what happens to me when I'm in forestry class with Mr. Laviolette, and he loved me because he found out he wanted to make an example of me. Somebody who's taken his class is actually going to go to college. I said, "Sir, I'm going to go to college. I'm going to take forest engineering. I'm going to make roads because of your class." And he loved that. So he always used me as an example. Always. To the point where the class were telling me that they're getting kind of sick and tired of him always using me as an example. He liked me because he knew that I was going to go to college. Then one day, we had this thing called work experience in Port Alberni High School. We had to go do work experience for a credit. We had to get a credit. And I'm like, okay, where could I go to get work experience and not actually have to do any work? I actually thought that in my head. The police station. Ride along. I just sit there and I watch. I mean, that's the best sort of work experience that, well, it is. I mean, you can't come up with better work experience for a kid. And so that's what I did. I remember the stories. I remember watching these guys. I remember the first time we went Code 3 in a Ford LTD. I know I already told this, but we were going down the dip, lights and siren, and I had to turn away because I didn't want the cop seeing me. I think his name was Bruce Nicholson. I didn't want him seeing me smile, but I was grinning like you wouldn't believe. I couldn't believe how fast this guy was going in the Ford LTD with lights and sirens, and there was nothing more exciting than that moment. I remember it was like 2, 3 in the morning. Oh, maybe it was 1 in the morning. And he pulls over a drunk driver and throws him in the back of the police car, and we're driving back to the detachment. And he sees what's going on in the rearview mirror. I don't know what's going on. He goes, you better not light that. Because he didn't cuff him. If you light that, I'm going to throttle you. And the bad guy lit a cigarette in the back. Bruce hops out of his car. And I don't know, I couldn't see anything, but he got that cigarette away from that bad guy. And I thought, this is awesome. This is awesome. I'm not doing this story justice. We were driving down a road. I did it a couple times during the day. He goes, see that, Clint? Look at that guy in front of us. He's drunk. Is he not drinking and driving? And the guy was actually crossing the middle, the solid line, and then back in, and then crossing the line again and back in. And he pulls him over. And he goes and talks to him. He comes back to me. He goes, you believe There were two guys eating an ice cream cone, and they're pissed off at me because they're driving that way. I told them, you're driving like a couple of idiots. And they got, and I remember thinking, you can talk to people like that? Are you telling me that the customer is wrong? And that's exactly what it was. The customer's wrong. And I love that. I'm also outside. I'm not inside. And the customer's wrong? 9 times out of 10? I mean, can you... For me, I couldn't think of a better job to get into. I remember after we arrested that drunk guy, we come back into cells, and one of the other constables thought I was the bad guy. He thought I was the drunk. He didn't realize I was the ride-along. And I was just standing in cells. And he goes, "You, get your ass back on that bench." And I just about myself. And I sat down, and he came up to me after. He goes, "I'm so sorry. I thought you were the bad guy. I thought you were the guy that was drinking and driving." But I just loved the way how he spoke to me. And I sat around that GD pit for hours. Like, we're talking 3, 4 in the morning. I'm still in the GD pit. And I'm just watching these people, these guys and girls. Well, there was no girls at that time. But just working and laughing and joking. And you can tell that they probably wanted me to leave so they can make fun of a dead baby or something like that, right? But they had no boss. There was no Mr. Meads or Brent March breathing down their neck. They were their own boss on night shifts. I always loved night shifts over day shifts. These were important people. I'm thinking, these guys are important. You know, they're not, what am I doing? I'm bagging groceries? Goo goo gaga? What's that? Is that what I'm going to do with my life? I want to be important like these guys. And I want to talk to bad guys. I won't say what I really want to say. I just couldn't believe that they were doing this sort of thing while I slept. And it was 100% cool. And I remember in the GD pit, one of the constables looked at me. He goes, "You know, you can, you don't have to stay here. Like, you can go." And I'm like, "No, I'm okay." And I look back. I'm such an idiot. I realized, you know, they wanted to get comfortable. They wanted me to go, okay, my time is up. But I didn't want to leave. I just wanted to sit there and watch that part. Watch the guys in the general duty pit talk and, just talk. That was interesting. Just watching that part. Seeing something that I didn't even know existed. I didn't know police were really like that they were fun and that, well, I knew they were that important. I didn't know they were like that. I know I'm not explaining myself. I didn't know they were so awesome. And so I'm like, I'm going to become a police officer. I have to. And when grade 12 started, I told Laviolette, I've changed my mind. I'm going to become a cop. And he hated me from that day on. He no longer liked me, and my grades suffered. And I don't know why I told you this part, but it's just something that I'll never forget. Weird. No longer used me as an example. Got mad at me all of a sudden when I didn't have a pen. Too bad, really. I became a cop because it was a career. And I was probably lucky that I did become a cop because at Canada Safeway, they fired everybody. It was no longer union. Everybody basically lost their job and they ended up working for peanuts. Same with Thrifty Foods. Same with Shaw Cable. Nobody knew I wanted to become a cop at Shaw Cable. They show up one day to work and they find out that I'm now at Depot. They're like, "What? Clint is going to become a cop, huh? That wingnut? The goofy little kid's going to become a cop?" You know what Laviolette said after he became a cop? He talked to my friend Shane. He knew Shane. They met somewhere in Port Alberni, let's say a grocery store. They ran into each other. And Laviolette was surprised that I became a police officer. And he says to him, "Isn't there a height requirement?" That's what he said. Anyway, so when I finally do become a cop, I come back. Everybody I worked with at Shaw Cable, and there was dozens, only one was left. They let go everybody. Not a career. That's why I became a cop. Career. The customer's wrong. Even the complainants are wrong, guys. Remember, when you get a call, it's from a complainant. They're complaining. A lot of the times they're chronic complainers. You're allowed to tell them, you're the problem. I've done that. Stop calling us. You're wasting our time. Just because you're calling and you're complaining doesn't make you right. I love that part. I love turning the table on the complainant and calling him an idiot. Well, I didn't come out and say that, but I don't think I did. But I made them feel like it. Feel like one. Because they deserved it. They deserved it. Stop calling the police for nothing. Noise complaint. Neighbor has lights on. Shut up. Just thought of something interesting. You know. I had to call them by their last name, Mr. Meads. But when I was at Depot, I had to call them by corporal or sergeant. Sergeant, yes, corporal. Yes, sergeant. Which was actually kind of cool if you think about it. Yeah. That's why I became a police officer. For a career. And customer service. I like that part of the customer service. I loved it when I was always right, usually. They were always wrong. And God, it didn't. You're a police officer. You take as many breaks as you want. You don't have to time out. You don't have to go to a clock and ridiculous. You imagine? As a police officer, if you had to start doing that? And you need that as a cop. You need to take the largest amount of breaks you possibly want. Whatever you want, you take. If it's nighttime and you want to take a 2-hour break and just gab with the guys, that's what you need. You need that kind of thing. There's a lot of freedom when you're a police officer. That's what I loved. Yeah, you hop in a car and drive around. You're not sitting at a cash register looking like a dumb tit, wearing your stupid little red vest, talking all sweet and nice. Gross. Talking about the BS weather. Yeah, it's raining again. I want you guys to listen to this call I'm about to play, because this is the reason why I just said everything. It's kind of why. It's because of this call. I love you. I love it when you guys call 604-330-2512. It reminds me of things to talk about. Haven't been on here in a while, and I'm really worried that I've already played this message because I'm stupid now, right? Like we're talking short-term memory like you wouldn't believe. I'm pretty sure I haven't played this message. Let's hear what Jason has to say.
Hey, Clint. City Cop Jason here. Just watching one of your old episodes, year old, or I guess a couple of weeks ago or something. It's a month ago now, I'm looking at it. You were talking about
what?
Getting time off and giving time off, and that was awesome. You as a supervisor would give it to anybody who wanted it off.
Yes.
I
used to give anybody who wanted time off, they would have I would give them time off. Of course. Why wouldn't I? They would come to me and they would say, Clint, can I have such and such block off? And I would say, you tell me. Just look at the schedule and you tell me. If we have enough bodies, of course you can have it off. The only time where it might have got sticky was New Year's Eve.
On the other hand, in
That's not even true. I don't even know why I said that. Maybe Halloween.
my department had a different experience. I had a particular supervisor who would delete your holidays, your selected holidays, and put himself on those selected holidays.
Isn't that nice?
And because everything was on the computer, literally it became your argument against his as to who actually had the holidays. So if you had a prime time in the summer, you think you've got it all the way along, and unless you physically took a photograph of it, which I ultimately needed to do, when I had it, yeah, he would delete the holidays and then put himself on it, and then deny that you ever had those holidays. And you would think that you'd be able to track that, but
Brutal.
anyway, this is kind of what he got away with several times. And I recall one day when I was taking a photograph of it, I had a rookie come up to me and say, "What are you doing?" And I said, "I'm taking a photograph because he's going to delete it and take it for himself. He's done it before." And she said, "Oh, you're just being paranoid." And I watched, and about 1 month later, while I'm on the computer, I go check, and I said, "Oh, there it is."
Whoop.
And I remember she comes over, and just her looking at the screen and being rather new, she turned pale-faced, and I thought she was going to vomit. She felt so sick to her stomach from it. And she said, "It's exactly what you described would happen." So that was probably an early wake-up call for her to terrible supervisors. I confronted that supervisor. We had it out, and boy, there's a story to be had with that. He was not happy with me calling him out on this, and let me tell you, there's some ramifications. But anyway, just sharing that story. Wonder if you had any people that you work with that were like that or would act, I don't like to use the term corrupt, but you know what I'm saying, is just inappropriate, and you shouldn't do that to your people. Take care. Love the show. Bye.
Thanks, dude. Thanks for your call. Oh, man, I'm going to go off on this. I know it. Have I ever had a supervisor take time away from me? Well, of course. They love doing it. The weird ones. The weird ones do. They love the weird ones, like some weird, really weird control. I've had supervisors, you'd ask and ask and ask, and they'd never get to you. They'd never get back to you. And then when they finally do get back to you, they'd be like, "No, Russ has it off." I've been asking for months. What are you talking about? Stuff like that. This is how we did it, guys. My entire career, we had 2 schedules. On the computer, through Hermes, the members, if they wanted time off, they would send me their hours. And then I would go online on the schedule. I forget what that's called now. Isn't that weird? It's not Prime. And I would book them off. I would approve their leave. There was also another technique that we did. We did 2 things. Let's say summer's coming up. Let's say it's March. We had a calendar. You know those calendars? Those massive calendars that hang on a wall? Like the month of July, it would be huge. July 1st to July 31st. I would hand that calendar to the guys and the girls, and I would say, "You guys tell me tonight what leave you want for summer." In Duncan, we were allowed 2 people off. Okay, we had 6 members. We were allowed to work with 4. Any less than that, we would have to call in overtime. So we couldn't have 3 people off on the watch. We could only have 2 people off on the watch. So they'd sit around and they would hash out what blocks they wanted off in summertime. And whenever there was a conflict, which there never was, I don't know why, but there never was, well, what would I do? I'd give it to the person who had the most seniority. You want the same block off? Sorry, you can't. But there was never an issue. It was a great way to do it. And it was documented on that calendar. On that paper calendar. And then they would send their leave through the computer, eventually. Here's the thing, okay? God. I got 4 years. I'm running the watch. I'm the acting watch commander. I'm approving everybody's leaves. We don't have a watch commander. We didn't have one for six months, so I'm running it. When a report to Crown Counsel, an RCC would come through to me, I would approve the report to Crown Counsel. I did everything. You know, you arrest somebody, you do the investigation, you write it up, you write up a RTCC, you give it to your supervisor, which is me, and then I give it to Crown Counsel for charge approval. So I had all those powers. Leave, I approved leave, I did it all. I was also approving my own Crown Counsels. Nobody else was reading them. Nobody else was reviewing them. I would arrest a drunk. I'd write out my report to Crown Counsel, and I'd give it to Crown. I wanted a day off. I'd give myself a day off. I approved my own leave. The new watch commander comes in. Used to work highway patrol. Oh, the poor guy. And I continued doing it this way because he was off a lot. For whatever reason, he seemed like I was usually the watch commander, even though we had a watch commander. And I continued doing the things that I did. I approved my own crowns because he wasn't there. And if I wanted a day off, I'd go to the paper calendar and I'd give myself a day off. No problem. Why wouldn't I? Why wouldn't I? Of course I'm gonna. That's the way I've been doing it. And he had no problem with it. He never spoke to me about it at all. He just seen that that's the way it was. That's how we run things. So one day, I know I got a day off, right? So I don't show up to work on the start of my day shift. And my phone rings at 6 in the morning, 6 or 7 in the morning. It's him. Yeah, they all talk like that, okay? Why are you at work? And I'm like, what do you... Just look at the schedule, dummy. I said I got the day off. Well, I didn't approve that. And I'm like, I don't care if you approved it or not. This is the way we've been doing things. All of a sudden you got a problem with it? I was kind of like that. I was upset that he was making me feel bad on my day off that I deserved. And he goes, well, you know what? I gave Turner the day off and I need you to come into work now. And I said, nope, I'm not gonna. That's not happening. And he goes, well, I'm going to have to call somebody in for overtime. He was scared to call somebody in for overtime. He's making as though it was my mistake. But he knew what he was doing. He did this on purpose. And I said, no. And he goes, fine. And he hangs up the phone. And then he calls back 5 minutes later. And he goes, hey, Clint, okay. Do you think you'd be able to can you call in sick so he doesn't get in trouble? I don't know. Weird. He goes, can you call in sick? And I said, no, I can't. I'm not calling in sick for 2 reasons. I'm not sick, and I don't want to ruin my, God, what do you call it? When you're in a pattern, on a roll? God, what's wrong with me? I was on a roll. I hadn't called in sick ever, and I liked that. I wasn't going to ruin that. My record, okay? I had a perfect record with sick days, 4 or 5 years in. And I loved that about me. And I said, not happening. And he hung up on me again. And so I messaged the girl that he gave the day off to. And I'm like, what the hell's this? I said, what's going on? And I either messaged her or we spoke on the phone. I don't even know if I texted back then. And she goes, well, Clint, I was in the office the other day and I asked for the day off. And he looked at the schedule and I said to him, I guess I can't have the day off. I really want the day off, but it looks like Clint has it off. And he looked at the schedule and said, I didn't approve that. Without even telling me. And gave her the day off. I think I took the last night shift and the first day shift off. So we never had that conversation, and he just made that decision on his own. And part of me was thinking, well, why wouldn't you let me know, girl? Like, you knew I wanted it off. Why would you go and take it off? Anyway, so did a supervisor take time away from me? It's just an odd story, isn't it? It is. And it's something I'll never forget. I'm surprised when I look back at it and on how I spoke to my own supervisor that way. I had some balls back then because any other cop would have came in, I think. But no, dummy. You know what you're doing. What you're doing is wrong. I know a lot of people that are going to be like, oh, Clint, you need to have it approved. Whatever. It's not how we ran things. And now that we're talking about leave, you want to hear something insane? I know I shouldn't do this. Well, I just have to. I wasn't going to talk about this. This is nutty. This is nutty. Close your eyes. Street sweeper going by right this second. Can you hear it? I'm working in Duncan. Oh my God, that is the slowest street sweeper in street sweeper history. I'm working in Duncan. We have a watch commander. This is before all this stuff, okay? This is when I'm 2-3 years service, I don't know. And my watch commander's name is Brad. We looked up to Brad. And Brad was the watch commander. This is another reason why. This is the reason why I became watch commander. Christmas. The watch commander corporals always had Christmas off. It wasn't even you just knew it. It was a given that Brad, if our block fell on Christmas, he's going to have Christmas off. And he deserved that. He's the watch commander. That's why I wanted to become a watch commander in the Lower Mainland. I love Christmas. Christmas means a lot to me. I don't know why, but it does. And I always wanted Christmas off. There was only one place that I could apply in the Lower Mainland, I think, and that was Mission. The corporals could be watch commanders. No other place. The island, it's filled. It's filled with corporal watch commanders. And that's why March 11th, you have to have 7 years, guys, to promote to corporal, from constable to corporal. My graduation date was March 11th. And on the computer, there was a job posting, Mission. They needed 2 corporals in Mission. The closing date of the job was March 11th. March 11th was the first day that I could apply to become a corporal. If the closing date was on March 10th, I would have never became a watch commander corporal in Mission. I wouldn't even have the kids. I wouldn't even have the kids that I have right now, and I wouldn't be even sitting where I'm sitting right now. Would have changed everything. But that's part of the reason. So I could have Christmas off. I like that. I love being a watch commander. I actually liked being a watch commander in Duncan. But believe me, it's easy when you're acting. Okay, you're an actor. Different kind of story when you actually become one. It's actually probably one of the worst, most difficult jobs that you can have in policing is a corporal watch commander. And that's another episode. So Brad, okay? Brad's got Christmas off. We all know that, every Christmas. Every January 1st, Brad would put the new schedule up, the paper schedule, that huge schedule from January to December, and he'd put it up on the wall. And we'd always grab it and say, we'd always look to see, do we work the long weekends? Are we working Halloween? Are we working Christmas? And I grabbed the schedule, and I had a pencil, and I go to December, and I see that we work Christmas, and I put me off. I pencil it in, all Christmas, okay? 23, 24, 25, 26. Clint off, Clint off, Clint off, Clint off. A couple days later, underneath it, Brad wrote on the bottom, over my dead body. And we all laughed. We kind of giggled. It was kind of funny. Of course, I'm not getting it off. I was joking around. It wasn't going to happen for me. I did it as a joke. It was a given that he's getting it. Even though we're allowed 2 people off, everybody had more seniority than me. So I was going to work Christmas. That's the way it's supposed to be, guys. I'm new. I'm supposed to work Christmas. That's the way it is. Oh, but when you go to Port Alberni, guess what happens when you go to Port Alberni? I go to Port Alberni. And you know how earlier I told you you're allowed 2 off on a watch? They just changed that. You're only allowed one off. Even though the minimums were like 4, you were only allowed one person off. Even though you could technically have 2, and that's how they ran it forever. But, new bosses come in, new staff sergeants come in, and they want to get promoted. And they're like, you know what? Only one person on each watch can have it off. Unless you have one person on a course training in Chilliwack, then you could have 2 people off. One person off on a course, one person off on holidays. Why'd they do that? Why'd the staff sergeant do that? To make his job easier. Because there's nothing worse than being a staff sergeant in charge of training, and you look at the schedules, and it's just filled with 2 people off for almost the half a year. He can't fit you in. Oh, there's already 2 people off. I can't put you down for the investigators course at Chilliwack. You're making my job more difficult. So I'm going to institute a new rule. Only one person can have it off. And that way, do you know how much money I'm going to save the detachment on overtime? Think about that. I might even be able to give money back to the city. Great way to get promoted. Why is this a big deal? I'll tell you why. I had a guy on my watch that complained. Dumb dick. He complained he asked me for Christmas off. Okay, let me back up. This is unbelievable. You know what the staff sergeant does? He writes out an email to every constable on all the watches, talking to all 4 corporal watch commanders, saying, hey guys, watch commanders, maybe you guys had Christmas off last block. I want you to now think about giving one of your constables Christmas off the following year if you happen to work Christmas again. He's taking that power away from us, and he's putting it into the hands of the constables. And I can't believe what he's telling me, that I should work Christmas, that I should give my Christmas holidays to somebody else. And I remember thinking, when have you done that? When have you ever given your holidays up on Christmas? When's the last time you worked a Christmas? So now the constables are coming up to me asking for Christmas off. And I'm like, sorry guys, pound sand, not happening. Yeah, but the staff sergeant said, I don't give a rat's ass what the staff sergeant said. So one of my members goes up to the staff sergeant complaining. Well, I can't get time off. Clint's not giving me time off. And I'm thinking, dude, he's not giving me, he wanted Christmas off. He wanted to go up to Kelowna. And I remember thinking, don't complain about me. It's his rule. He made the rule. He created the rule. Only one person off. See, I get worked up when I think about this stuff. Just nutty stuff. I got members complaining because of the staff sergeant making up this stupid, I want to swear, but I'm not going to. Stupid rules. Only one off. And then who does that affect? It affects the watch commander in some weird way. You're the one who's getting in trouble, or you're the one that's getting, grief because of a stupid rule a staff sergeant has made. And that happens all the time. You're working and all of a sudden new staff sergeants come in, new inspectors come in, and they change everything. I was working a mission. The corporals got off at 4 a.m. It was the best schedule I'd ever had in my entire life. Getting off at 4 a.m. is absolutely incredible. New staff sergeant comes in. Goldberg, something like that. Conrad. And what's the first thing he does? He talks to a watch commander, Wayne. Talks to Wayne. Wayne goes, yeah, there's gonna be a hazard. The watch commander should be working till 7. What does he do? Changes it all. And I'm like, Wayne, what are you doing? We had it so good. There's got to be some sort of benefit to being doing the worst job in policing. Corporal Watch Commander. Right? There's got to be some kind of benefit to it. Nope. I'm wound up now. I'm actually wound up. Yeah, exactly. Talking to myself. When have you given up your Christmas? And you know who you are. Moron.
Well, I'm an inspector now.
You stupid tit. I want you guys to hear this message to the end. Don't fall asleep.
Clint, calling from D Division.
I don't even know where that is.
Fellow member, PTSD, off work for almost a year. Loving your channel. Recent subscriber. Liking what you have to say. I like how you're helping new members or prospective members.
Am I helping new members though? I don't know.
Bringing another angle here.
That's why I do this. To help members.
Being a guy that's worked northern spots, Manitoba, rural spots, working alone, being on call for working single shifts, backing up day shift, night shift,
Doing it all.
stuff.
Yep.
But it's good listening. It's great hearing how you're helping new guys, but it's been good for me listening to you because I can identify with that, and that's helped with me being off.
That's good.
Not knowing if I'm going to get back ever in this gig, but that might be okay too.
Yeah.
But identifying with lots of your stories, a lot of similar things, and I think I'll call back and leave another message and tell you a little bit about things that are very similar.
Hope you do.
But weirdly enough, this is a big first step for me.
It's hard calling in.
To call and leave this message, but love the channel, love the content. It's great that I can find somebody that I can identify with, and the stories.
You're a clown too.
And the funny stuff, and the good times, and recognize why we get so f***ed up doing this job.
Sure.
But keep it up. I'll call back.
Thank you.
D-Rock from Dirty D, man.
D-Rock.
Keep it up. And, yeah, I'll call back. But thanks. Bye.
Right on, man. Thanks for calling. 604-330-2512. Off for a year. PTSD. I don't even know. What do you say to that, right? You sound like you got a 10 plus years experience. Don't know if you're going to go back. Well, maybe don't. Maybe don't. You know, you go off for a year. You're not really getting better, but it's a great first step to getting better. Don't let them get you back. You fight them tooth and nail if you have to. You don't go back. You go back when you think maybe you should go back. Don't let them. And will you do me a favor? Will you contact health services and get a copy of your health records? There's emails in there. I want you to read them, okay? You don't have to go through the whatever they call it, Privacy Act, okay? You're entitled to it's a quick phone call. They'll put it on a disc, or they might just print off the entire thing and send it in the mail. Yeah, you're off for a year. All you think about, I'm just guessing, but all you're thinking about is work, which just makes you a little bit more sicker, right? Your sickness is probably, I'm not saying you're sick, I'm just assuming. But it's hard to get better when you don't fully leave. And then when you fully leave, whoa, that's when when you're no longer collecting a paycheck from them. And you no longer think they're following you. Like, how many times you're looking out the window? Why is a cop car? Why is that car going slow past me? Are they watching, keeping an eye on me? Being off for a year can make you a little bit paranoid, I would think. And I would think that it would stall your symptoms of PTSD, which is a great thing. But I would think to get fully better from PTSD, that would be maybe completely leaving. And then, see, when I left, I can't believe it. I can't believe how civilian I became. It's great. It's great. There's no chance of getting in trouble. What's going to happen? Yeah, they might take my jersey away for saying certain things, like how I opened this up. But okay, I don't want them to, but go ahead. I'm not going to stop talking. You no longer feel controlled. You no longer feel like you don't really feel like you're going to get in trouble, even though I do a little bit, but not like I used to. Like, I got 2 boats. Maybe I forget to insure the trailer on the boats, okay? Ooh, what's the worst that's going to happen to me? They're going to write me a ticket. That's it. I'm not going to get hauled in. I'm not going to get a code of conduct. I can have a party. We could be naked in the hot tub. So what if the cop shows up, sees us naked at 4 a.m? That's almost funny. You almost like it. You almost want to do, when you retire, you almost want to go out and do bad things. Bad things. I know I've told this 1,000 times. I'm not going to say it again. That's when you start becoming a civilian and you start thinking like a civilian again. That's when I think you start becoming better. And maybe that's just how you talk. You don't sound too happy, but maybe that's just your sense of humor shining through. I don't know. I don't really know what I'm saying right now. I don't think it would be there's nothing wrong with not going back. You don't ever have to go back again. And when you realize that, when you actually tell yourself, hey, when you actually grapple with it, because it's hard, right? But when you finally tell yourself, something all of a sudden just comes into your brain, you're like, oh, no, I'm never going to be a cop again. Then that's when you're kind of like, you're almost relieved when you're in the state that you're in. Again, I'm not talking right. I don't think I'm saying any of this stuff right. But I wish I had, like, I don't even know if you need help. It looks like you're helping yourself. You stay off. It's not like a leg, right? It's 6 weeks to fix a broken leg, maybe a couple of months. Fix a mind? It doesn't take a year. A year's nothing. Takes longer than a year. Hell of a lot longer. And they're probably knocking on your door. Hey, summer's coming up. There's going to be leave. Okay? Watches are short. We're only allowed 2 off. We need you back. We're going to have to use all this overtime. I'm not going to get promoted. And then you pull your records and you see the supervisor contacting health services, ordering health services to get you back to work. Let's leave it at that. Guys, subscribe, call 604-330-2512. Go to clintonjaws.com. If you're a retired member, okay? If you're an auxiliary, if you're a current member, go to thegoldenbadge.com. You get one of these. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.